So 2, we're on logic. It's a really quick chapter. The next lesson that we do is 2-3. And 2-3 is actually going to be broken up into multiple days because 2-3 is a lot of information. So today we're doing 2-2. We're going to start with logic. If you had to describe logic or like something that's logical, what would you describe logic as? If you're making logical decisions, what does that mean? What?
Reasonable.
Something that's reasonable. Good. Something reasonable. Something that makes sense. Okay. A logic puzzle means that we're using rules or we're using what we have to figure out what we need still. All right. So we're going to start off with that truth value, that idea. So a truth value is, we have two options for a truth value. If I say what's the truth value of the statement, you either say it's true or you say it's false. That's what we mean when we say that truth value. All right, now there's two types of logic statements that we're going to make today. And they're going to be using a word like a compound sentence. Remember, a compound sentence means that we're taking two sentences and we're combining them into the one sentence. Okay, so our first compound word that we're going to use is and. And I'm going to use blue for and today. All right, and if you want to split that kind of down the middle here, the other word we're going to use, what's another word that can combine a compound sentence? I went to the park and I went to a restaurant. Or we could say, I went to the park, or I went to a restaurant, right? Okay, so or is going to be our other word. And I'm going to use green for or today. So we're going to talk about and statements and or statements today. That's our big goal. Okay, and we like to write this out symbolically. In math, we don't like to write words out because words are language arts. Just kidding. But it is language arts. But we do like to do things a little bit quicker, faster. So our and symbol is this like kind of a triangle symbol. It looks like an and, like the A, just without the line going across, or an upside down V. Okay, and this is called a conjunction. Remember, our prefix co means what? Together. So a conjunction means it's together. A conjunction. It's together. All right, so if you ask your grandma, can I go to the movies? And your grandma says, sure, but you have to do the dishes and clean your room. You go home, you clean the dishes, and you say, okay, Grandma, I did the dishes, so I'm going to the movie. Was that enough to go to the movie? No. When she says you have to do the dishes and clean your room, what does that mean? You have to do both. Okay, so when we're looking at this, a conjunction, they have to all be true. If they're all true, each part in an and statement is true, then the whole thing is true. So you tell your grandma, okay, I did the dishes and I cleaned my room. Can you go to the movies now? Yes, you did both. Now it's true. You can go to the movies. Whoa, are you okay? Okay, but if one or more are false, there's one or more things you didn't do of her list of things she wanted you to do. So you did the dishes, but you didn't clean your room. Is that good enough? No. So that is going to be false. With an and statement, we want all of it to be true. We're saying this and that. We're putting them together. All right, our next one is an or. So an or, it's kind of like, it's not necessarily the opposite of and, because it's not the opposite. But it's a little bit different. An or, our symbol is going to be that symbol, but flipped upside down. So just a regular like V. And instead of calling it a conjunction, we call it a disjunction. Meaning they don't have to be together. Okay, a conjunction, they have to be together. They all have to be true. A disjunction, they don't have to all be together. We're combining them, but they don't have to all work. So, in this time, if your grandma says, okay, you can go to the movies, you just have to clean your room or do the dishes. You do the dishes, is that good enough? Yeah. Okay, if you do both, is it good enough? Yeah, your grandma's going to be super happy if you did both. She just said you had to do one or the other, and you did both. What if you do neither? Not good enough. So, for a disjunction, it has to be one or more true. That makes it true. So only one part of it has to be true. All of them can be true. But in order for it to be true, you just need one of the things to be true. The only time an or does not work, that it would be false, is if they are all false. If you did none of the things, all of them are wrong, then the whole thing would be wrong. The whole thing would be false. So this is kind of like your flow chart here. So when you're deciding if a statement is true or false, you first have to decide is it an and statement or an or statement. Then decide, okay, if it's an or, do I know one or more is true or are they all false? And then that will tell you the overall truth value of that statement together. All right, we have one more vocabulary word and then we just have a couple examples here. Our last vocabulary word for today is a negation. Negation. Now for a negation, we use that little squiggle mark. I don't know why. It's not necessarily supposed to be the same squiggle as what's on top of a congruent sign, but it is. But we use that little squiggle. I'm going to use red for negation. And we use that little squiggle. Okay, a negation, we also use the word not. So usually when we see this little squiggle, we would say out loud not. Because a negation means that you're doing the opposite. Okay, negation means we're doing the opposite meaning. So to negate something means to like clear it out, do the opposite. So if I have the word can, I can do a cartwheel. What would be the negation of can? Can't? Yeah, can't or cannot. You can write can't if you want, or you can write cannot. Cannot is one word. I don't really understand why, but it is just one word with cannot. Somebody decided somewhere. Just kidding. There's probably a rule that I just don't know about. Anyone know why cannot is just one word and not two? I have no clue either. All right, what about does? Doesn't. Good. You can say doesn't or does not. It's up to you. You can do the conjunction. Whoa, I used a conjunction. Different conjunction. All right, so this can go in either way. So if you have a doesn't, what's the opposite of doesn't? Does. Okay, so if I have is not, Ahmed is not going to the dance. What is the opposite of is not? Is. Okay, so when you look at conjunctions, when we look at negations, that's what we're looking for, is just kind of that opposite. We're not like going completely like opposite of up is down, opposite of left is right. We're just really changing our verb, our helping verb. Can, cannot, does not, is. And it can go either way. All right, we have an example, and we're going to do kind of like 3 parts to this example. So we're going to start off with, I'm just going to write example. So I know that from here on out we're dealing with this information. All right, now we like to do things with symbols. So we're going to have 3 statements. And we put a letter for each of those statements. So I'm going to say statement A, B, and C. So statement A is going to say soccer is a sport. If you would prefer to put football there because you call soccer football, that is totally fine. Soccer is a sport. Okay, statement B is going to say it is trimester 2. It is trimester 2. And statement C is going to say it is not July. So really quick, let's go through and just decide the truth value of each statement individually. So you can write a T or an F, or you can write true or false next to them. Think through, decide each one individually, is it true or false? And we're talking about right now, like today. Okay, is soccer a sport? Yes, that's true. Is it trimester 2? No, so that's false. Okay, this one you got to think a little bit harder. Is it not July? True. It's not July, right? Yeah. If it was July, we'd say, yeah, that's false. But it's not July. That's true. Okay, you're all at school. We're not usually at school in July. All right, so we're going to do 3 examples here. So number 1, we're going to practice writing that sentence. I'm going to show you the symbolic version. And then you have to write out, and then we're going to write out what it is, and then decide the truth value. So for our first one, we have A, and then this symbol, B. So the first thing we're going to do is write out that sentence based on this symbol, on this right here. So this is telling us to start with A. So what is A? Soccer is a sport. Now for our combining word, are we using an and or an or? And. Good. How did you know? That's a symbol. Did you look up at your notes? No. Oh, you just memorized it already? Okay, that's our and symbol. So we're going to put the word and. And then we are going with statement B? It is try to. So that is our overall statement that we're looking at for today, for this first one. We need to decide, is this overall statement true or false? Why is it false? Yeah, and in an and statement, in order to be true, they have to both be true. Are these both true? No, this one is true. This one is false. So, because I have a true and false, together, is the whole statement true or is the whole statement false? False. Okay, 2 more. Number 2, we're going to start with B. And then go with this symbol. C. Hannah, put away your phone. Kaylin, put away your phone. Thanks. All right, what's this symbol telling us? Or, good. So when we connect these statements, we're going to use the word or. So what is statement B? It is trimester 2. And I'm just going to go with try 2 to save some space here. Before we go to statement C, we're using what word? Or. And what is statement C? It is not July. Or we could say it isn't July if that's what you prefer. So when we evaluate a truth value, we want to look at each part first. So is it try to? No, that's false. Is it not July? Yeah, that's true. It's September. It's almost October, which is crazy. October is next week. Okay, last time when we had a true and false, the overall answer was false. This time, though, if I have a false and a true, why is this one true? Is it because it switched spots?
No,
For what kind of statement? An or statement. For a disjunction, only one has to be true. Okay, or they could all be true, but the only way it's false is if they're all false. So since I have a true, this overall is true. Okay, last one, number 3. This time we're going to do a little squiggle. A. And then we're going to do that or symbol. And then B. So the way we would say this out loud, before you start writing it, think about this. We would say this as not A or B. Okay, before this would just been A and B or C. This we say not A or B when we're abbreviating it. All right, so first thing I see there is that not. What does that not tell us to do? Use the opposite. So if it says soccer is a sport, we're going to say soccer isn't a sport. That "nt" part or is not part is that negation. Okay, soccer isn't a sport. Okay, and then do we have an and or an or? Or. And then we're connecting it with trimester, or it is trimester 2. So to evaluate our truth statement here, truth value, to evaluate our truth value, we need to look at each individual one first. Soccer isn't a sport. Originally we said soccer is a sport, and that's true. So if we say soccer isn't a sport, is that true or false? False. Okay. Is it try to? No, that's also false. So overall, is the statement true or false? False. Okay, now some of your work today, it's going to have some of these statements that are a little bit more like, I don't know, real world situations. And then there's some statements that are going to be specific to